So this is our free Akashic Trancework webinar. And during these sessions, we primarily talk about the different trance states that we can achieve. Trance states are very powerful because they allow us to access our multiple senses. The Egyptians taught us that we have 360 senses. We have so much more awareness than we ever thought possible, given our limited paradigm of only having five or six senses. We don't really have language to describe the many senses that we have. We talk about having intuition, we talk about having a sixth sense, we talk about having this vague sort of psychic awareness, we talk about astral awareness, we talk about past lives, we talk about spirit guides, we talk about ancestors, we talk about gods and goddesses and different elementals and all kinds of things. We hear a whole lot of different things about all these different spiritual realities. But really, what we've come to understand is that all these things are different aspects of our being, different senses that we have that we don't necessarily know how to tune into, how to attune. In the same way that if you walk around your entire life with your eyes closed, with your hands over your ears, as soon as you remove your hands and open your eyes, you're going to be on a whole different level of awareness. But you have to know to do that first. You have to know to do that. And if you have never been told not to do that, if you've been taught that you have to do that to be normal, to be sane, then that's what we're going to do. Our lives, our entire lives will be limited by this physical reality, by this 3D reality. So in Akashic Trance work, what we want to do is help ourselves to expand, to understand these higher awarenesses. Now we recognize that since you're drawn to this work, most likely you experience a very powerful, profound astral spiritual reality already. And a lot of your experience involves trying to make sense of that. So we work with some very specific tools to create astral boundaries, to create sort of partitions within our awareness, within our consciousness, so we can understand ourselves better, so that we can go through that activation release process, removing all those things that don't serve us by becoming aware of them. And that's how we move through these things. That's how we move through our past life trauma. That's how we move through our ancestral traumas, by becoming aware of these things and moving them out of our light bodies, moving them out of our light bodies. And to do that, we have to tune into our astral awareness. And I've said that multiple times. The way to access all of these senses is to access astral awareness. Astral awareness is everything inside of us, all of our emotional, mental, spiritual experiences are within the astral plane, meaning that they're not governed, they're not definable, they're not predictable by the laws of physics. There's no physical law that can tell you when or if love will happen. It's an astral experience, right? All these things are astral versus the physical space. The physical space can be predicted. If I pick up a ball in physical space and I drop it, it's going to fall. If I pick up a ball in astral space and I let go, it may hover off somewhere. And there are certain laws and principles too that affect our astral experiences, but they're not well defined in our language. And that's one of the things that we try to do in Akashic trance work, is figure out some of the objective principles that occur in astral space. So in a way, we might say that we're trying to figure out some astral physics, some astral engineering. How can we work in these spaces more effectively? So that said, before we can do any of that fun stuff, we have to know how to get ourselves between the different states of awareness. And that's the foundation of all Akashic trance work, or any sort of spiritual work, really, is knowing how to get yourself to different states of awareness. So if you're here, you probably meditate or have meditated a lot in your life, or maybe you haven't, but you know how to kind of daydream off, you know how to think about things, you know how to possibly relax yourself. You have an idea about how to move yourself between different levels of awareness. Maybe you even lucid dream. Maybe you even astrally travel already. Maybe you do all these things and you just want to achieve a new level of mastery, all these abilities. And you can do that by understanding how the brain works a little bit as far as our brain waves, right? Our brain waves are the frequencies that our thoughts are activated at. You can actually measure on an EEG the different patterns of these different brain waves, right? So we talk sometimes about our alpha waves. Alpha waves are activated when we're in a very relaxed, sort of introspective, visual, or not, maybe just a very relaxed place where we are able to just kind of engage our inner selves, to daydream a little bit, maybe, or just kind of think about our feelings, or just relaxing. Maybe it's even a light meditative state. We spend a lot of time there. A lot of us, very sensitive, empathic people, we spend a lot of time daydreaming, spacing out, focusing on things that are within, that are not right here. And sometimes we kind of beat ourselves up for that a little bit because it's not necessarily acceptable in mainstream society, right? You have to be on it, you have to be focused, you have to be present with what you're doing. And if you're not, you're spacing off, you're not being productive. Maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you're lazy. Maybe there's something wrong with you. But no, it's not true. We don't believe that's true. We think that we can actually engage those astral abilities, those alpha state abilities to do some very powerful things. Because when we are engaging our imagination, when we're engaging our creative abilities, we can do things that are so powerful, that are so amazing, that manifest physically in our lives. So we are not just daydreaming. We are not just going off into the imagination. We are actually doing important work on ourselves and with ourselves, healing ourselves, but also becoming more effective people in life, manifesting our will and our needs, our truth more effectively because we are using our thoughts effectively and intentionally. So that time that we spend sort of daydreaming and spacing out, if we use that intentionally with some of the tools and constructs that we teach, then you can actually learn to master the power of the alpha trance state. Many people already spend a lot of time there in these alpha trance states. And all you really have to do to get yourself into an alpha trance state is use a very specific method. Usually you want to find a method that works well for you. There's two that we teach. Getting into an alpha trance is not very hard, ultimately, for most of us, but it's really about intentionally going there. We want to put ourselves there because if we're not in alpha, then we're in a beta state. And beta states are active, engaged with everything. We may be a little bit anxious. We're in go mode. We're aware of everything around us. It's very physical engagement. And we need those beta states to survive, obviously, to work and to get up and walk around and eat and all those things. We have to have that beta level of awareness. We need those beta waves or we won't do anything. We'll kind of just lay around and space out all the time. So sometimes we need to bring in more beta waves into our life, but we don't focus on those so much in Akashic Trancework. We want to focus on the alpha states and then also the theta and delta states, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But I wanted to talk about just how we can really easily bring ourselves into alpha states pretty simply. So one of the ways that we like to bring ourselves into these alpha states is with simple breath work. And if you've done meditation or yoga or qigong or anything like that, you're very familiar with this. Or if you've done any kind of athletics in your life, you understand how important breathing is, right? Breathing is really what brings us into the moment. It's always our lifeline. So we always tell all of our Akashic trance workers, the breath is your lifeline. It's spiritual rule number one, right? You have to know how to breathe. So we use our breath very specifically to induce different trance states. And it's highly effective. It's not always effective because sometimes there can be other things happening, but it's a very effective way to get yourself into any state of trance, no matter what, right? You can bring yourself down to a somewhat more relaxed place, always with the breath. So to get from a beta state, from an active, engaged, possibly anxious, possibly fearful beta state into a relaxed alpha state, usually A count of 5 on the inhale and a count of 5 in the exhale. And this will vary. The breath patterns vary because we have different lung capacities and things like that, but it's a little bit longer than what you would consider to be a natural breath. It's just a nice, relaxed breath. So usually 5 counts in, 5 counts out. If you want to, you can hold between for 5 counts. It's really whatever's most comfortable for you. I usually don't. Some people do. If you do that, I recommend putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth. I don't know why I'm demonstrating that. You probably can't see it, but yes, putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth and then holding. So you can either count in for 5, hold, count out for 5, or just count in for 5 and count out for 5. So let's try it. Let's do a little alpha breathing and relax a little bit. So I'm going to take just a couple of moments to try this out. I'm going to count into 5, then out 5. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may want to lengthen it a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try it for a moment. Don't go longer than 7 breaths. Just feel yourself kind of slipping into a more relaxed place. Thoughts and feelings becoming more noticeable. Becoming slightly less concerned with your physical environment. More introspective. If you have anything that you're struggling with, it might come to the surface, and just want to hold space for that. I'd love that to be, kind of let it pass by. So that's one way we can get ourselves down to a nice alpha state. It's a very relaxing experience. It's nice to do that even if we're just walking around, go into that alpha place for any time. It's very powerful. There's another way that we can take ourselves into an alpha state. It's a little bit more fun. And it feels really good to do this because what we're doing is we're toning. We're using the tone of our voice to bring ourselves into a different state of awareness. And we can actually use sound and toning. Yeah, it is very relaxing. It's not uncommon for people to fall asleep during our sessions, which is actually okay. But we do try to encourage you to use some of these breathing techniques to find a comfortable trance state where you can stay awake enough to remember what happens. But, falling asleep is also completely okay. So, as we explore our tones, our sounds, we found that we can actually tone, we can make a humming vibration into a part of our body that will help us to get to a different state of awareness. And if you're familiar with how mantras work, or if you ever chanted to your different chakras or anything like that, then you understand this. And we do a lot with sound in Akashic Trancework. We work with crystal singing bowls, we do chanting, we do a lot of things, we do toning that are very powerful. And a lot of these things are best done in person, right? Because I can't even necessarily demonstrate the full power of toning over this connection, but I can tell you how to do it. And I can tell you that if you can find someone else to do this with in person, either back to back or facing or just in the same room, it's very powerful. It's very fun. It's not singing. Toning is not singing. Toning is vibration. It doesn't have to be loud. It can be any sound that you want to naturally produce. It doesn't have to sound good. You're not performing. You're just using your voice. You're just humming. If you have any children, or if you have ever held a child, you'll understand the power of the voice, the resonance of that frequency, holding a child and humming. is one of those primal things that a human can experience either as a parent or as a child, right? It's very connecting, it's very relaxing, it's very soothing. So what we're really doing is we're tuning in, we're toning in to our throat, our third eye, and our crown. And that's kind of what is our alpha space, our third eye space. It's very relaxing, but it kind of keeps us awake. So what we want to do is just hum a little bit, right? We hum a little bit right up into this space. And I'm going to show you. I don't know how well you'll be able to hear me over this connection, but give it a try if you're in a space where you can do this. It's a lot of fun. It feels really nice. Mm. Take a deep breath. It's kind of nasally and it feels kind of fills your forehead and your cheeks a little bit. It's vibrating your brain. It's a vibration that is tuning you in to your alpha state. And this is something, as far as I know, no one else does this. This is some stuff that we've brought through in Akashic Trancework. It's very powerful. Of all the different trance inductions that we do, toning is the fastest, most effective way to get down into a trance state, even more so sometimes than breathing, because breathing is fine. But if we have a lot of stuff happening up here, if we have a lot of stuff happening anywhere in our body, if we're feeling distracted, if we're feeling like we may not be able to relax enough just by breathing. And toning is a very useful way to do that, to relax yourself. So we also talk about deeper states. So alpha states are great. And eventually, if you relax into a natural progression, you'll go down from an alpha state into a theta state. And there's different levels of all of these that we talk about in the course. You have like a high theta and a low theta and a mid theta and all this stuff. But ultimately, your theta awareness is when you are basically dreaming, right? When you're dreaming, you're in a theta state. Especially if you are lucid dreaming, then you are in a theta state of awareness where your full external sensory experience is more or less cut off. You're not very aware of your body, right? If somebody came along and shook you, you might wake up, but you're not going to pay too much attention to other distractions going on because you're so engaged with your inner world, right? You can achieve these states from a conscious place through induction. And induction is when we guide someone or ourselves into a specific trance state. We're inducing a trance state, right? We sometimes talk about inducing a pregnancy, like we're inducing another level of awareness. We're inducing a birth in ourselves, right? A rebirth in a way. We're bringing ourselves down to another level of consciousness. So there's a powerful term there, induction. We're inducing trance states through these different methods. And going into a place of theta awareness while awake is an extremely powerful thing because most of us only ever experience theta states while we're dreaming. And that can be very difficult to understand because we're so in it that we don't necessarily know to extract from it. We know everything probably has some meaning, but interpreting our own dreams is very difficult. And remembering them is not even that easy. Most people only remember a fraction of their dreams, if any. So, inducing theta states from a level of consciousness without having to go into a deeper delta state first, which is usually what happens when you sleep. Usually you go through these different states. And you go down to a deep state of delta before you go back up to your theta state, which is kind of a buffer, right? You're going into a deep rest. Your body's getting the deep rest that it needs. And then it moves up to the more exploratory theta state, right? Which is where we really love to work. And it's not the easiest thing to induce for the beginner, to self-induce, that is. Not so much because it's hard to get there, but because we tend to get so relaxed that we just slip down into sleep and we forget what happened, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes we need to do that, but what we really want to do is try to establish a place of theta awareness where we can engage with our subconscious minds. And this is kind of like the level here. So we have theta awareness and then delta awareness and alpha awareness. And we kind of want to hover here a little bit. We don't want to go so down into that delta state that we're totally asleep. And we don't want to go too high up into alpha where we're distracted by every little thing happening around us. We want to find that nice sweet spot where we can induce a deep journeying experience. And we don't have to do that all the time. We can use most of the tools that we teach in Akashic Trancework without having to go into those deep theta places. But deep theta is really, really great for trauma work. It's really great for past life work. It's really great for deep ancestor work. It's great for connecting with deeper parts of ourselves because the ego is diminished. It's still there, but it's not as fully active as it is in that alpha state because what we've been able to do and what we want to do in theta states is relax our bodies enough to be able to be okay in those alpha places. And a lot of that ego attachment that happens is because of our attachment to our bodies, right? So ultimately, the best way to get ourselves down to a theta state is to relax ourselves deeply and be mindful again of our breath, right? So if you want to use breathing to get yourself into a theta state, we usually say 7 to 9 breaths. May go as long as 12, depending if you have a large lung capacity. But usually more than 12 is going to get you down to a very deep delta state pretty quickly. And then, you'll be in a very healing place and you can receive a lot of healing in that state of delta. But you're not going to have a lot of intentional journeying experiences, most likely because of how deep in you are to your body, to your physical rest state. So we wanted to try to maintain theta to alpha generally. So 9 breaths. And again, you can breathe in, hold, and breathe out, or you can just breathe in and out. It just depends what you're most comfortable with. So let's do the 9. We'll just do this for maybe about 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's continue at your own pace for a moment. By this point, you may find you want to just lay back and relax a little bit. Having good neck and back support is helpful. So the other way that we can go into those theta places, and this is probably one of my favorite things to do in the entire universe, is toning ourselves down into a theta state. And if you recall, when we talked about toning ourselves down into an alpha state, we toned up here into these chakras, into this space. For the theta state, we want to tone down between our heart and our solar plexus. We want to just kind of hum down in there. It's a very nice, relaxing feeling. And again, I don't know if you'll be able to hear me over the electronic connection here, but just humming down into that space again between the heart and the solar plexus. It's very relaxing. It feels really nice. Inhaling deeply, feeling your lungs, feeling your stomach. It's very relaxing, kind of puts me to sleep a little bit when I do it. You should feel it kind of vibrating in your chest and your arms and your hands a little bit. It's a very relaxing way to just bring yourself to that theta place very quickly. And it's highly effective. If you can do that and get to that state, then you won't need much else as far as trance induction goes. But the other ways that we induce trance are through the voice. And I use my voice to guide people through trance experiences because the voice is an extension of breath and tone, and we can use our voices to bring each other and bring ourselves to different levels of awareness by guiding our visual experiences, by kind of holding space and listening to each other, and also just being mindful of how we use our voices, of the pace, of the tone, of the pitch. It's very important. I'll demonstrate here in a couple of minutes kind of how we typically do this, and we have a lot of different ways that we deliver this. You'll get to see a lot of this and hear a lot of this in the course, Marcia. So I've been doing a lot of talking, and I tend to go on and on a lot, but I wanted to offer you some space now if you had any questions or thoughts before we go into that deeper experience, or anything at all, if you have anything that you'd like to share or ask. I'm guessing that you're probably pretty relaxed already. I'll go ahead and keep on with this experience. It's okay if you're resting. It's okay if you're resting. Good. It's common to fall asleep. So I'm going to take you in to a very relaxing experience. And at the end, if you want to stay resting, stay relaxed, you can actually just stay there if you want to and just allow yourself to kind of drift off. It's a really nice way to just spend some time with yourself. And I'll give you a chance to do that and also give you a chance to come back and check in with us. So just be aware that it's your space to do whatever you want with. It's very important that we allow you to fully experience yourself. So I suggest finding a nice, comfortable spot. Good back and neck support. Just finding a nice, easy rhythm of the breath. Sorry about that, Marcia. I understand. It's very relaxing to check in with ourselves. Sometimes coming back, though, reminds us how easily we can get back there. We can move back and forth between these states of awareness very easily. So let's take some of those 5 count breaths together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just continue breathing, allowing your thoughts and feelings to wander, allowing whatever physical sensation occur to just come in. Just be present with your thoughts and feelings. I have so many ideas, memories, inspiration, question, unformed things just floating in your mind. Don't try to push them away. Don't attack any of your thoughts. Just be present with them. They're just there. Now, let's do some 7 count breaths. Breathing in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Continue to breathe naturally, deeply, but don't fall asleep just yet. And as you relax even deeper, just start to imagine a safe, happy place from your memories or daydream, an imaginary place or a real place. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you feel safe there. You feel relaxed and at peace. Take some nice deep breaths there. Just spend some time there, breathing, relaxing. This is a place where there is only peace, only love, only compassion, only the energy you wish to bring into this place may come here. Only joyful, happy, peaceful thoughts belong here. This is your heart space, your heart center, your astral temple. This is your primary astral boundary. You may wish to bring in other beings, friends or family, guides, or you may wish to just be alone here. Just be with yourself. Just connect to yourself, to your higher self, to your deeper self. This is a place where there are no obligations or expectations or pressure. This is pure peace, pure relaxation, pure joy. If any other energy come in here that do not belong in this deep, sacred space, ask them to step outside. You can talk to them later. This is your space. You may find that there are other beings there, beings you spend a lot of time thinking about. Maybe these are just memories or thoughts or feelings that you spend a lot of time with. How much time and energy do you give to these things? How many hours a day, a week, a month? How much of your life have you given away to these energies? Understand now, no matter what your obligation, no matter what your responsibility, you do not have to give all of your energy away. You can cultivate your own energy. You can use your time for yourself. Any being who are in your imagination, in your memory, in your thoughts, in your feelings, are within your astral space. You can ask them to step away or move them somewhere else. There may be a time when you need to speak to them. When you are here, when you are in this space, you are in your most personal, private space. You can completely relax and let down your guards and just be. You know you deserve at least a few minutes of that each day, even if you don't have a place in physical space where you can do this. You have now just created an astral space where you can go to recharge. Stay there as long as you like, and if you wish, and only if you want to, start breathing just a little bit faster, allowing yourself to flex your toes and fingers, becoming aware of your body, becoming aware of the room around you. I'm going to leave this channel open for just a few more minutes. If you want to check in with us and talk to us about your experience, or you can just keep listening. Completely up to you. We'll be holding space for you here.